A solar event affecting the United States for the last time in 20 years is creating excitement around the Lone Star State. But for some, it might have been more of a bust than a memorable moment. Coming up, we'll have a look at the Great American Eclipse.
The Lubbock events calendar was packed this weekend with options both on and off campus. Find out how students could grab a burger and a beer, tune up their musical skills, and learn about an industry they might not have even known existed in West Texas.
And the lights were on at Danlaw Field as the Red Raiders return home for their latest conference series. But could the team play lights out as they face down in their newest in-state opponent? MCTV's Mia Fletcher has highlights from Tech's baseball's latest series along with the latest look around Tech athletics and sports.
This is the MCTV Weekday Update.
Welcome to the Monday edition of the MCTV Weekday Update. I'm Chloe Greene.
And I'm Ezra Rivera. A cosmic event took over headlines today with millions of people across the United States hoping to experience what could be a once-in-a-lifetime event.
A solar rarity being called the Great American Eclipse started in the United States earlier this afternoon and included a large portion of the Lone Star State. Shortly after noon, a solar eclipse became visible here in Texas, including right here in Lubbock. Local residents were able to see close to 90% of coverage of the sun at the peak time of 1:35 p.m. But several major metropolitan areas in the state experienced a total eclipse. Parts of cities including Austin, San Antonio, Waco, and Dallas-Fort Worth were plunged into darkness for up to 4 minutes during the peak of the event. Unfortunately, cloud cover made viewing difficult in some of the areas of totality across the state. Regardless of the weather, thousands of people still made the trip to be there for the experience. The next solar eclipse will be visible in North America and will take place in August of 2024. The path of totality will start in the far northern United States and continue into Canada.
If you decided to avoid the crowds gathered to view the total eclipse, there was still plenty to do here in the Hub City this weekend.
One option was to head over to Danlaw Field at Rip Griffin Park and enjoy some mid-season baseball. MCTV's Mia Fletcher joins us now with the first look at the Red Raiders' most successful weekend of the conference season. Mia?
Thanks, Chloe and Ezra. Texas Tech baseball has been on a hot run so far this season, and Red Raider fans are loving it. The Scarlet and Black swept Houston in the series this past weekend, outscoring the Cougars 39-29 throughout the 3 games. The sweep now puts the Red Raiders at number 7 in the Big 12 and gives them a conference record of 8-7. With only half of the conference schedule left, Texas Tech will have to have a very strong ending to their season in order not to only have a chance of making the NCAA tournament, but also to clinch a top seed. Coming up later in sports, I'll have a recap of a very fulfilling week in Texas Tech athletics and some important future events for the Scarlet and Black.
Thanks, Mia. It may be hard to believe, but the last day of classes is only 4 weeks away. With the semester wrapping up quickly, a couple of campus groups invited some Red Raiders to join them for some good food, fellowship, and a frosty drink. Yesterday, the Texas Tech Student Alumni Association hosted their annual Burgers and Beer event at the Frazier Alumni Pavilion. Graduating seniors were invited to stop by between 11:30 a.m. and 12:45 p.m. to enjoy a burger for lunch along with chips, cookies, drinks, and all the fixins. Students aged 21 and older could also grab an adult beverage to enjoy with their meal, courtesy of the Texas Tech Alumni Association.
Yeah, this is an event that started several years ago. Our Student Alumni Board, housed in the Alumni Association, wanted to host a burger and beer event for our graduating seniors. This is a program that's been growing several years running now, and they've tried to tie it in with the baseball game, and today was an excellent opportunity to do it.
Attendees at yesterday's meal were invited to head on over to Danlaw Field after eating to help cheer on the Red Raiders against Houston in the final game of the weekend series. Burgers and Beer is one of the last events hosted by the Student Alumni Board and TTU Alumni Association during the spring. The next major event is the Spring Ring Ceremony, which takes place at the end of April.
Music has been a big part of the city of Lubbock's legacy for decades, ever since Buddy Holly made his mark in rock and roll history. The local music scene includes dozens of performers rotating around the town each week, but many more are just trying to get their foot in the door. With that in mind, the 2024 edition of the Buffalo Grass Fest was held yesterday afternoon at the Louise Hopkins Underwood Center for the Arts. Luca, along with the state of Texas and the TTU School of Music, sponsored a workshop for music students and musicians to learn more about the music business, performance techniques, and music marketing and branding. Yesterday's workshop included a youth track and a pro track with sessions led by fellow musicians, local professionals, and Texas Tech faculty members. Yesterday's event finished up with the musical showcase headlined by the special guests, the Peterson Brothers, and an after party at Two Dogs Brewery.
Agriculture is a huge part of the Lubbock economy, and cotton is king. But over the weekend, a local group celebrated the product of a different type of harvest that has helped put the hub city on the map. On Saturday, the American Windmill Museum was the site of this year's edition of Lubbock Uncorked. The annual event is hosted by the Lubbock Chamber of Commerce, inviting local wine connoisseurs to come out and enjoy a variety of options from across the state. The event also celebrates the local West Texas wine industry, which features more than 60 vineyards within a 2-hour radius of Lubbock. Attendees also had a chance to learn more about the winemaking business during several classes offered during the event. Saturday's festivities also included live music and food trucks in the museum parking lot. Lubbock Uncorked wrapped up around 6 p.m. on Saturday evening.
As we mentioned earlier, weather impacted a large part of the path of today's total solar eclipse through Texas. But clouds aren't the only concern as we head into another week of April.
Weather specialist Elisabeth Herring joins us now in the studio with details on some big changes coming up in the MCTV forecast. Elizabeth?
Thanks, Ezra. Well, that's right, Chloe. We are currently in severe weather season, and that looks like it's going to catch up to us later this evening. We did see some clouds earlier today, and currently that did affect the eclipse partially for us. Luckily, we still were able to see it, so I hope everyone had a chance to get outside and view it. It was truly amazing. As we look at today, some heavy clouds in the area here in Lubbock, also south of the Dallas area, that did unfortunately affect the eclipse for some of those folks. As we look at tonight, we do have a chance for some hail in the area. That's going to happen around 6 p.m. in the Lubbock area and east of the Cap Rock. That's going to taper off as we move into the evening, and then as we continue into tomorrow evening, we do definitely have a high chance of some isolated thunderstorms and heavy precipitation throughout the South Plains area, mostly in the northeastern part, but we definitely definitely could see a chance of that here in Lubbock, and that's going to continue as we move on into Wednesday early morning. So just keep that in mind if you have an early morning commute Wednesday. Definitely could see some isolated thunderstorms throughout the area. As we move on into later Wednesday, it looks like most of that is going to move out of the South Plains area. Today, especially tonight, we are at a slight risk for some severe weather here locally in the Lubbock area. Definitely more of a risk as you move east, southeast of the Cap Rock. That's going to be tonight, so just keep updated and informed as we move on into the evening. Today, most of that risk is going to come from some large hail in the area. We could also possibly see a risk for some tornadoes and high winds. Not as much rain, but again, definitely the chance of isolated thunderstorms is prevalent. Tonight, lows dropping into the 50s and 40s throughout the South Plains. Snyder 53, Jayden 52, up in Turkey and Matador 48. Denman a little bit cooler with a low of 44. Plainview also 44. Morton 46 degrees. Tomorrow, about a 20-degree cool-off from what we saw today. Definitely some cooler temperatures in the South Plains tomorrow. Snyder 58, Jayden 59, up in Turkey 56. A lot cooler in Denman with a high of 50 tomorrow. Plainview 52, Warren also at 52 tomorrow. Tonight here locally in Lubbock, low of 48 degrees. Tomorrow, definitely cooling down with a high of 54. As we look on into the rest of the week, Wednesday starting to warm up gradually with a high of 68. Thursday, high of 71, and we should see mostly sunny skies Thursday. As we look on to the beginning of our weekend, Friday, warming up with a high of 80. Saturday, continuing that warm trend with a high of 86. Sunday, high of 87, and starting next week off quite warm with a high of 83. With that severe weather rolling around this evening, stay informed with any weather apps just so you can understand what's happening in your area and stay alert. I'm Elizabeth, and Chloe and Ezra, it's back to y'all.
Thanks, Elizabeth. The Texas Tech baseball team had a successful weekend here on campus, but they weren't the only Red Raiders in action over the weekend.
MCTV's Mia Fletcher has a full rundown of the latest headlines from Texas Tech athletics and sports. Mia?
Thanks, Ezra and Chloe. After the 1-2 series loss to UCF, the Red Raider baseball team shut down Stanford in back-to-back games before a huge series against the conference rivals, the Houston Cougars. All 3 games had Texas Tech scoring double-digit runs in a stellar fashion to defeat the Cougars. Texas Tech came out strong with something to prove against the Big 12 team and showed why they should compete in the NCAA tournament. Behind Kevin Bazel's 3-for-4 night at the plate and reliever Josh Sanders' 3 perfect innings to close, the Red Raiders were able to take the crucial opening night game of the series. Damian Bravo also scored his 40th and 41st runs of the season, and he became the only player in the Big 12 to pass 40 runs this season. Saturday's game started off in the Red Raiders' favor as freshman TJ Pompey hit a 442-foot grand slam to start off what would later be the second win of the series. Bravo also had 4 RBIs off of 4 hits to propel the Scarlet and Black to their 6th straight home victory. On Sunday, Tech had 2 one-hit innings from Josh Sanders and Parker Hatera and a Gavin Cash 3rd-inning grand slam to close out the Red Raiders' 6th straight win overall and 4th straight Big 12 victory. This was the Red Raiders' first Big 12 sweep since May of 2022. The Red Raiders will be preparing this week to travel to Abilene to face their non-conference opponent, Abilene Christian. First pitch will be tomorrow at 6:05 p.m. The past few weeks have been tough for the Texas Tech softball team as they headed into the week with a conference record of 3-6, ranked number 7 in Big 12 play, and a 2-series losing streak. However, the Red Raiders faced the number 21 ranked Baylor Bears this past week, and even though they ended up losing the series, they did end up defeating the Bears 4-3 in the first game of the season to beat a nationally ranked team. Maddie Wright had a 120-plus pitch outing and launched her first homer as a Red Raider in the 2nd inning to help secure the win. Dee McClarity came into the game and had one of her biggest at-bats as she drew a walk with the bases loaded to bring in Tech's 3rd run of the game. The Red Raiders had 6 hits, 3 stolen bases, and 8 drawn walks to scrap across runs against a solid Baylor Bears team. The Red Raiders will host conference opponents, the Kansas Jayhawks, this weekend at Rocky Johnson Field for a chance to improve their record and improve their resume for the NCAA tournament. First pitch will be on Friday at 6 p.m. One program has had a very eventful past few weeks. The men's indoor track team were crowned the 2024 Indoor NCAA National Champions a few weeks ago. Now it is the outdoor season for the track team, and they are already starting off as strong as the indoor team left it. Just last week, the men's team was ranked number 7 nationally, and women were ranked number 10. Last week, the team competed at the Texas Relays in Austin. Multiple Red Raiders won events or placed in the top 3 of their runs. Ruta Lasmain won the Big 12 Women's Track and Field Athlete of the Week from her stellar performance in the Texas Relays. Last Saturday, the Scarlet and Black Throwers began the competition in the David Noble Relays in San Angelo. Mackenzie Davis and Connor Wood threw personal best in the relays to propel Texas Tech to the front, and Trey Wilson III won the men's shot put with a throw of 18.34 meters. The Red Raiders will hit the road and travel to California, Florida, and Oklahoma with different competing event groups next week. The men's and women's tennis teams have been fighting for their spot in conference play, but things have not gone the way they would like lately. The men's team is currently 0-6 in conference play and has a 7-game losing streak. Last Saturday, they traveled to Fort Worth to play TCU and lost the match 0-4. The women's team is having a better go at their season, sitting at 8-3 in conference play. Though they have a 2-game losing streak following a loss to number 23 Oklahoma, the Red Raiders still have a shot at postseason play. This Saturday, Texas Tech men's tennis will host BYU at the McLeod Tennis Center at 2 p.m. The women's team will host West Virginia this Thursday at 5 p.m. That's all for sports today. Back to you, Chloe and Ezra.
Thanks, Mia. So, Ezra, did you attempt to check out today's solar eclipse?
I did actually. My apartment complex was giving out some of those special glasses, so me and my roommate went to check it out.
Gotcha. That's all for today's edition of the MCTV Weekday Update.
Thanks so much for joining us, and be sure to check ttuhub.net every day for more news. We'll see you on Thursday.